This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome to the latest, the freshest edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churco, alongside not my brother Dominic, but two individuals from the River Rouge High School boys basketball team. And they are the head coach and multi-time state champion winning head coach, LaMonta Stone, plus his star junior forward, Legend Geeter, who is one of the best high school boys basketball players in the state of Michigan currently, and truly throughout the entire Midwest at this point as well, with him accumulating offers from all over the nation recently. And his recruiting process has escalated recently too. So more and more big schools have started looking at him, and it's because he's a star caliber talent. And it doesn't hurt that he has some really good size for himself too, with some really good length on the perimeter as a small forward and a wing player that can make shots and who's getting better and better by the day, being coached up by his head man at River Rouge, Coach LaMonta Stone. And we start off by talking about where he got his legendary first name, Legend, because I just love that name. I think it's a heck of a first name. So Legend tells me how he ended up with that as his first name. We talk about his game this season against Ypsilanti-Lincoln, the D1 state champion from a season ago, and its star player, Emoni Bates, who has actually already been on the cover of Sports Illustrated and is the top player in all of the land right now when you look at high school basketball players, with all of the attention he has garnered as time has gone on. And it didn't hurt him that he won that state title at Ypsilanti-Lincoln a season ago as a star player of that program. And Lincoln will once again be a really, really good program this season too. But Rouge actually got it done and beat Lincoln for a second straight year. And it was a game played at Eastern Michigan to kick off this season. So Rouge is going to be a good team once again. Remember, Rouge made it to the state finals last year, but ended up losing that contest. So now, sweet redemption is on the team's minds, and Rouge wants to get it done after being on the cusp of a state championship a season ago. So Legend talks about playing for LaMonta Stone, about what he has learned from Coach Stone. Coach Stone talks about Legend, how dynamic of an athlete he already is, the type of player he is, who he closely resembles from past years. So, and when I say who he closely resembles, I'm talking about an ex-NBA player that Coach Stone thinks he looks like and, could become at the next level one day. As, remember, Legend is a guy that will play collegiately, no doubt, but if everything comes to fruition for Legend, he could be a guy that ends up playing in the NBA one day as well, being one of the star wing players in the association. So I cover all of that with Legend and LaMonta Stone on this week's edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I think it's an interview that you guys will thoroughly enjoy, and especially if you get into high school hoops in the state of Michigan. Guys, without further ado, here's my chat now with LaMonta Stone and Legend Geeter. And with me, River Rouge basketball head coach LaMonta Stone and his star 2021 forward, Legend Geeter. Guys, Coach, first with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Well, great to have you guys on for this week's episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. Now, I want to start with Legend, though, here, all right? With your name. Okay, tell me where you got the name Legend from. Let's start with that.
I got it from my dad. And, all his kids' names start with an L. And I guess, it just came to the top of his head, Legend. And there it is.
And now, do you feel like when you go on the basketball court with that name, that you perform at a legendary caliber level. Do you feel like that at times when you're out there?
At times, yes, I do. I'm still working on coming out even harder to make it seem like I'm really the legend, as my name. So that's all I'm working on, really.
How about playing for this guy right here? Okay, a multi-time state champion winning headman. What is it like playing for the living legend, LaMonta Stone?
And it's amazing. Playing with one of the best coaches in the world, really. Hard worker. You got to come ready to work every day. Hard work. He knows exactly what he's talking about every day. You just got to listen to him. You'll make it somewhere.
So what's the biggest lesson or two, or just a couple of lessons that you've learned from him? Now, you said working hard. Now, what goes into that, into working hard when you're playing under LaMonta Stone?
The mentality. Everything he say, you got to box out, rebound, defense. That's the main thing right there is defense. That's what he likes, what he loves. That wins championship.
And what kind of player are you? Now, you're 6'6", a couple of inches taller than me, I believe. 6'6" or something, right? Is that true?
6'7".
6'7", okay.
6'7", 6'8".
Okay, it's on a good day, 6'8", right? I like that. With some heels on, maybe. But how about you on the perimeter then? How are you on the perimeter guarding other guys? Also just playing there from an offensive standpoint. What kind of player are you like?
That's kind of my weakness right there is guarding on the perimeter. That's what I'm working on every day to get better at. It's guarding on the perimeter. My defense overall, that's what I'm working at, getting better at. My offense comes, Coach Stone always say, offense going to come, just work on the defense, get there and do everything you need to do.
And now, when you're at Rouge, you play some high-level competition.
Right.
Now, you've played against Ypsilanti Lincoln and Emoni Bates a couple of times already. You've beaten them, from my knowledge, twice too, including this year to start off the season.
Right.
And you had a really nice performance, all-around game, legend. Now, what was it like playing against Emoni Bates with all the attention, all of the hype that he had going into the season, and then also into that matchup?
It was very. I liked it. It was very awesome playing against the Emoni Bates. Big crowd. It's a lot of people there, college coaches, everybody there to watch us play. It was two big stars in Michigan. And, I just gave it my all like I know I was supposed to.
And then it was at Eastern Michigan? Am I right in saying that? So big crowd, college atmosphere, more people than even, I think, for an EMU basketball game because of you and Emoni and the teams and how strong you guys are. I mean, like you said, Michigan college headmen were there. Juwan Howard, right? Tom Izzo, to scout you, to watch you, and you were impressive. And to coach now, Coach LaMonta Stone here. How impressive was he in that game against Lincoln and Emoni Bates?
I thought Legend started off a little slow. Didn't play up to my capabilities in the first half, but I thought a lot of that when I self-evaluated myself as a coach, a lot of that was due to I thought how we played him in the first half. Played him around the basket in the first half, and we tried to go to him on a low block. And we've been working since last spring to expand Legend's game. Put him out on the perimeter, put him at the elbow. Allow him to dribble into his spots. So. We went away from the things that we had been doing to make Legend a better player. So in the second half, I thought about it at halftime. In the second half, we did just that. We put him at the elbow and put the ball in his hands on the perimeter and allowed him to make the play that he wanted to play as opposed to me dictating where he got the ball. And I thought he had a great second half. Best player on the floor in the second half.
So better than Emoni Bates. Now, How good is that guy? Now, they compare him to Kevin Durant, saying he's like the Slim Reaper. Is he comparable at all? I know it's very early on. He's in high school.
No,
what do you say, Coach?
I told the guys last year when I saw Emoni, I thought he was a pro, as a ninth grader. When I was at Ohio State, I started recruiting some ninth graders. I saw O.J. Mayo as a ninth grader. I saw Roy Hibbert as a ninth grader. I saw LeBron James as a ninth grader. So I had something to compare him to. And the things that I was seeing him do with his size, with the ball, shooting the way he shoots it. I mean, LeBron wasn't shooting it at that age.
He's already a better shooter, too.
Yeah, yep. So, no, I think, sky's the limit for Emoni. And he keeps working and keeps a good attitude. There's no doubt in my mind that he's an NBA player.
But enough about Emoni Bates, okay?
Yes.
We're not here for that.
No.
Legend Geeter, back to you. What did you learn from that matchup?
What did I learn from that matchup?
Yeah, what did you learn from playing in that tough of a matchup early on in the season? And with all those people in that crowd once again, too, at EMU.
I learned that you can't be nervous. You just got to come out there and play your game. I learned playing against one of the big stars in Michigan, you got to play your hardest. Playing in front of a big crowd, a sold-out crowd at that. You can't, you got to give it your all, and that's what I did.
And what's it like playing at Rouge now, too, with all the state title aspirations year to year? So you got the bullet on your back every single time you go out there. What is that like?
It's amazing playing for one of the top schools in Michigan. You learn a lot, get a good education, got a great coach.
Great coach, huh? Yeah.
Yes. He will get you in school, and that's a fact. And, if you just listen to what he say, you'll get there, and, you'll do what you got to do. I love River Rouge. I've been here for 3 years. Pops wanted me to leave, honestly.
Now, why is that?
Because my last coach, he wanted me to stick on to him. I'm like, no, we got a plan this year, and that's to win the state championship. So I stayed, and we made it to the States, but we came short. So now we're here to make it again.
Coming that close last year, too. How does that mentally and physically prepare you for this season and the challenges ahead? Now that you know what it takes to get there, we're so darn close to reaching the mountaintop. So you're on the cusp of it. And now this season, how has that taught you and helped you out mentally and physically for tough challenges ahead?
Last year our big problem was rebounding, and that's really how we lost the state championship, rebounding our defense and selfishness. So this year I know that I gotta what's the word I'm looking for? Prepare my team for this big game in the States, which is rebounding, defense, if we can win this.
And how about taking on a leadership role too? What is that like for you and being a leader of the basketball team?
Honestly, it's tough. That's one thing I'm still working on also.
And what has Coach told you about that, trying to teach you about being a better leader on and off the floor?
The thing he always says, the guys from last year is not here. It's my time to step up, and if I don't do that, we ain't going to make it nowhere.
It's time to shine, Coach. Back to you, Coach, too. What's it like coaching this guy from where you saw him start at when he got to Rouge to now? Talk about that, please.
He's really progressed, and we talked about it a little earlier. The progress has become he's more of a skilled big guy. Most guys his size, particularly at the high school level, get stuck in the post and they play with their back to the basket. And that's one of the things I took when I took over here. I realized, Legend, you may get to 6'8", but even if you get to 6'8", the level of collegiate basketball you want to play, you're not a post guy. You're a perimeter guy, and you got to be able to make shots on the perimeter, and you got to be able to make plays on the perimeter. Now, at 6'8", yeah, you could do some things in the post at the collegiate level, but you're not just going to be stuck in the post. So I told him we had to expand his skill set, had to expand his game, and to his credit, he's worked on it, and he kind of understood, the things that I was saying, and he wants to play at the highest level that he could possibly play at, and he wants to be a really good basketball player. So he worked on it, so made my job a lot easier, and it makes me look like I'm a better coach because of the things he does on the floor.
And now, Coach, he said he's already 6'8". What are you talking about if he gets to 6'8"? The guy already said he's 6'8".
Yeah.
So, but also touching upon that, how dynamic of a player is he right now at this stage in his career?
I think he's so far ahead of most high school big guys, just because of the things we just talked about. The collegiate coaches, we just had a Big Ten assistant coach in our gym today watching practice, and this is his second trip back to, see Legend play in probably 2 weeks. So I think the collegiate coaches are noticing, the things that he's doing on the basketball court. And not just on the court. We talk about being a student athlete. Legends, GPA is over 3.0. So he's a solid, student. Character is impeccable. You talk about, college coaches ask me all the time, is he low maintenance? Is he high maintenance? What kind of kid he is? And I say, well, Legend it's a new word to describe him. It's called no maintenance. So.
I love that. You gotta love that as a coach, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and that
man.
makes it a lot easier, right? I mean, you've had some guys, star caliber talent, but that are tougher to deal with, right? And how tough can that be on you at times when you have a star caliber talent kind of player, but that guy is a head case too inside the locker room and off the floor?
And what happens in that situation? Usually, your team characteristics takes place and is developed by the quote unquote best player of the team. And if your best player is a knucklehead or is hard to deal with, is a challenge to coach, then your team is probably going to be a challenge to coach because they're going to take his lead. With Legend, because I'm going to tell you, we have a problem, but it's a good problem to have. He's too nice of a kid. I'm trying to get him to develop a,
stern attitude and tough persona on the floor.
on the floor. But his mom and dad done an excellent job of raising, a quality kid. So I guess that's a good problem to have.
I think it is too. Now, who is he comparable to, in your opinion, at the next level or that's played at the next level, whether it be collegiate basketball in the NBA? I mean, who does he resemble in your opinion, Coach?
If he wants to play at the highest level, and I always challenge all our guys, is the reach for the stars. And, if you don't get there, that's okay, but at least reach for it. So, if he's going to play, lucky enough to play at the NBA level, I think he has become more of I'm an old school guy, Glenn Rice.
Now, do you know Glenn Rice, though, too? I wonder if Legend knows Glenn Rice or has watched him play at all.
Honestly, I haven't.
Well, now time to show him some film.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give him some film on Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice was probably about his size. And, the later version of Glenn Rice was, just a jump shooter that made more jump shots than he missed. Almost you got to the point where when he missed, you were surprised. But before he got to that point, he was kind of had the same skill set as Legend, but Legend can really shoot it for his size. So I think as as he goes on and keep playing, he has one more year of high school and then plays at the collegiate level. I mean, I think that's the thing that he's really going to expand on. And I think wherever he chooses to go to play collegiately, they're going to expand on that. And at 6'8", with the jump shot that he has now, and it keeps improving. I mean, that's I think that's his ticket to playing at the highest level.
Now, who do you watch at the next level? Whether it be collegiate basketball, the NBA, or a guy that used to play in the NBA, who is that for you? And you can give me a couple of names as well.
My favorite player is Kobe Bryant.
And why is that?
I just love his mentality, the way he plays, the way he works. I think it's great.
The Black Mamba. How about currently playing in the NBA? Anybody that really sticks out to you that you like watching the film of?
I was watching KD before he got injured. Really? Not really nobody, honestly.
So a big man, you want to be that guy on the perimeter at 6'8", whatever you may be actually, and be able to shoot. And the shot-making ability is the difference maker for guys like LeBron and Durant that have the size but also can shoot from deep. And in today's game, Coach, how much are we seeing of that, of the ability from the big men, the guys on the perimeter too, and the wing players to be able to stretch it from long distance, and how important that is too to the flow and makeup of the game?
We, Legend and I and his parents, we went to see Michigan play a couple weeks ago, and I told Legend to watch Teskey. John Teskey's 7-foot center that starts for Michigan. Teskey probably shoots more threes or just as many threes as anyone on that team, and he's 7 feet tall. So, I mean, the game is evolved to that. I don't care if you're 5'8" or 6'8". You got to be able to make jump shots. You got to be able to spread the floor. So, he's well aware of that, and he's worked on it, and I think the style of basketball that Legend is playing right now suits the way that the game is being played collegiately and at the NBA level.
So you see a lot of scouts coming into the gym right now, too, to watch Legend and some other dudes on your team, too, Coach?
Yeah, at one point in the fall when we were doing our fall workouts, it was probably a collegiate coach at our gym every day.
How is that to handle, too? To be on top of that, to stay on top of that, and then with these guys, student athletes, like you said, students first, to balance all of that with the rigorous academics, but also playing.
But what I tell the guys is this is one of the many reasons why you play high school basketball for River Rouge. At River Rouge, you're a student athlete, and part of my job is to prepare you for life. And preparing for life, I need to get you to somebody's university. So, we're a walking billboard, and we're not afraid to say, hey, my guys are playing for themselves, their family, their friends, but also to get a collegiate scholarship.
And speaking of that, trying to get a college scholarship, this guy's going to get one. We know one day from somebody.
Yeah.
Who are those schools, Legend, that are looking at you right now that you can reflect upon, that have taught to you and all of that good stuff? Because that's what the people really want to hear. We know that too.
Michigan State, Nebraska. It's really not that many, honestly, that really I talk to.
But it's escalating.
Yes.
I mean, Coach, and talk about that too.
So of course, Michigan State locally. Nebraska's been in our gym a couple times in the last couple weeks. Xavier, I just got off the phone. We're texting back and forth with Xavier's head coach, Travis Steele, Providence. He's getting calls, and I get calls just practically every day from a lot of the same guys, but there's a new guy, a new school, probably once a week since the season has started, and then all the mid-major
have
schools
been after him too so
have
far.
actually offered. I think he has maybe 7 or 8 mid-major offers right now. But I tell Legend, I talk to his parents about recruiting a lot, and I tell him he's probably 6 months behind where he normally would be because he got injured this summer. And typically the summer is when he would have got those mid-major offers that he's getting now. So because he didn't get the mid-major offers until now, that's why I say he's 6 months behind. And then typically what will happen is the progression of the recruiting is, now the mid-majors are offered, all the big boys will start coming in now, and that's what's going on now in our practices. Talked about Nebraska coming in today. So they'll follow him through the season, and probably, before our season's over or sometime spring, early summer, all the big boys will start to offer.
So for you, Legend, now, how is it dealing with all of that, with the constant attention? And I want to specify by saying the people offering you and then contacting you, your phone blowing up. I mean, has your phone blowing up almost on a daily basis recently too?
Yes, it does, including mail.
So emails, I mean, everything you can name probably you're getting from these college coaches.
Yes.
What is it like dealing with that right now, all of that madness?
Well, it's great. I don't let it bother me or affect me on the court. I just keep working. From work and come in.
And now, when you grew up, who did you like watching at the collegiate level? I mean, were you a Michigan State guy? Were you one of the two? Because I know people want to know that as well. What were you like growing up?
Michigan. I love Michigan, watching them play.
So you've always loved Michigan.
Yes.
What do you think of Michigan right now with Juwan Howard leading the way?
Honestly, still one of my favorite teams. I think Juwan Howard is a great coach. Now I'd love to play for him one day.
Coach, I want you to evaluate Juwan Howard as a coach now. In his first year leading a program like he is at U of M, his alma mater, and he's done a solid job. Not great, but good enough for sure so far. How would you evaluate
It's
it?
funny because I've known Juwan from afar. We have some of the same friends. So when he came to Michigan, some of our friends, we were all together. So I actually went up to the press conference and hung out with him a little bit and his family after the press conference. And, from that point, we've really developed a really good friendship. I've been up to, a few practices, went to a few games. And the one thing that, I knew him as a person but didn't really know him as a coach. One of the things that stood out right away was he's a teacher. It's like I'm sitting here in his practice. It's like I'm in a classroom watching a teacher teach math or teach English or teach science, and he's teaching basketball. And that kind of, initially it shocked me, but then I thought about it. A lot of the NBA guys that I've been around, you don't think of them as teachers because they're NBA guys, the coaches, but, they're teachers. And I worked for Lewis Orr for 7 years at Bowling Green. Same thing. He was a 12, 13-year NBA vet that got into coaching, and same thing. I mean, he just taught the game. And it kind of, it's like I was in school every day at practice, and Juwan has that same feel.
So he can definitely make it long-term as a collegiate head man.
Oh,
that means
there's
teaching
no
ability.
doubt. I think what Juwan's he's gonna win in Michigan. I think it's going to get to a point where the NBA is going to come calling because he's really respected at the NBA, the highest levels of NBA. I think he's going to at some point have to make a decision. Am I a long-term collegiate guy, or am I a guy that's going to do this, for 4 or 5 years, and when the NBA and their money start calling me, do I take that bait? Or I think it's no time soon, but I think at some point it's going to come to a crossroad where he's going to have to make a tough decision.
Well, it's hard to resist that big money after a while, right? I mean, that's common sense. Now, back to you, Legend, really quick about Juwan. Have you spoken to Juwan Howard about playing at U of M? Anything of that sort yet?
Yes, I have, honestly.
And what's it been like dealing with him thus far?
It's been great. He said when we played against Lincoln, he said he loved the game that I played. And, he got to come out more to watch me.
How about Tom Izzo as well at State? Have you talked to him? And if so, what have you guys talked about?
No, I haven't really talked to him. It's been a minute. I talked to him over the summer, and I haven't talked to him ever since.
And, Coach, really quick, you brought up teaching and that teaching element, and it's so crucial at the collegiate level, I think, too, and even more than at the NBA level.
Yes.
But you yourself as a teacher, and you've coached in college. Mm-hmm. What would you describe Tom Izzo as when it comes to coaching and the kind of coach that he is?
Me and Tom, Coach Izzo, probably has similar styles on the surface. We probably get after it in the discipline and we think we both pride our programs on being a tough-minded program, and I think we both coach that style. I get it from one of my mentors and one of my coaches, Benny Benford, who coached me, and actually he was my football coach in middle school, 8th grade coach. He had that abrasive style, and I guess I kind of picked up on that. But it's funny you talked about recruiting a little bit. Let's go back to that. Northwestern and Princeton. I talked to those guys last week. So Legend's a decent student, but I told him, I say, Legend, you're starting to get some calls from some pretty high-end academic schools. I say, we need that. I know what it takes to get in Northwestern. A 3.2 with a 19 for a student athlete. Now, non-student athlete maybe a little higher, but for an athlete, talk to the coach and say, Legend needs a 3.2 and a 19 to get in Northwestern. And then a couple days later, Princeton called. And I said, Princeton's probably a little higher than Northwestern.
I would say so, too. Yeah.
So I'm challenging Legend. He's a really good student, but I'm challenging him to, hey, if these academic schools are calling, you don't want to limit yourself. If you need a 3.5 or 3.6 to get in some of these schools, you're close enough to that. Let's just buckle down a little harder and get the 3.5 and 3 or 3.6 so you don't limit. You open up a whole new horizon of schools when your grades are that magnitude.
Legend, go and get it done, man. All right? Embrace that mentality and get the grades. And, hey, it's mind over matter. But are you ready to embrace that yourself, the academic side and rigorous academic standards of a school like that at the next level?
Yes, I am. I'm working hard every day to get my grades up and, get better as a player.
How about embracing the culture, too, of River Rouge that you've established? And you kind of already talked about that, how you see with these bigger head coaches and most successful guys such as Tom Izzo, that they've created a culture that's been long-lasting. Yeah. And when I say that, I think of the red jackets that you guys wear. You come into a game with all the time.
Maroon jackets.
Maroon to be proper here. And I think it's so cool, the culture that you have established with the wearing of those jackets. And you bring the professional feel to your guys' games that way, too.
Let me tell you the story of where those jackets came from. When I was here in the mid to late 90s, we were very successful as a basketball program. To the point where we started beating the parochial schools such as Country Day and Orchard Lake St. Mary's and because they were in Class B at that time when we were. So one of the games, we won the game and the student body was chanting after we won the game, "That's okay, that's all right, you'll work for us one day." And it hit me like...
Struck a chord, right?
Oh, man. So, it wasn't good enough just to beat those guys on the basketball court. Those are the same kids that my players will be competing for athletic scholarships, jobs after they graduate from school. So, at some point, I got to teach my guys to be successful, just as successful off the court as we are on the court. And part of it is looking the part.
And you do. You have that going on big time at Rouge. I know that.
So the jackets you speak of, I think we bought those jackets in 97-ish, 98 maybe. And when I left here to coach collegiate ball, they put the jackets up in storage. So one of the first things I did when I came back, I asked where those jackets were. And believe it or not, they were still in storage. So we pulled those jackets out, and the same jackets we wear and I wear to coach in were bought in 1997.
And they're slick. I mean, they look good on you guys, too.
Thank you. When you buy quality, I guess it lasts, right?
It looks like it, too. Now, wearing those maroon, let me get it right, those maroon jackets now, Legend, for you. What is that like when you're able to walk into a gym, into a building with those jackets on?
You know, we got to wear it throughout school. You know, sometimes it can get uncomfortable. But, you know, walking in a big gym and we the only team wearing suits and jackets, you know, I feel different. I feel like we that team, you know, we need to show people that we different from others.
Do you feel like there's extra pressure on you specifically? I know we talked about you guys as a team having the target on your guys' respective backs, but you with all the attention that you've garnered over time and with the recruiting process really amping up of late as well.
You know, we all deal with the same stuff. You know, if it's pressure on one of us, pressure's on all of us. You know, that's how we take it.
And back to the recruiting process, is there a leader in the clubhouse right now for you, or at least a couple of hot names that are on the trail for you? Not really right now. And you know about the recruiting process
with the recruiting process with Legend, it's early.
And it's going to pick up more, like you were saying,
it's going to definitely
pick up steam.
It's definitely going to pick up steam, but it's early. Like I say, I think his recruiting process is really about 6 months behind, just because of the injury of this summer.
And what was that injury, to verify too, Legend? Can you talk about that and recovering from that as well?
I had a back problem. You know, I was dealing with that for a while, through AAU season, through camps, and the whole summer, really. And I went to the doctor. They said it was something wrong with my disc. And they said I had a smudged disc, so, you know.
First time having that issue, too?
Yes, it was. You know, it was a big bother. And I had to play through that through camps. You know, it was really hard. And, you know, I recovered from it, and now I'm here working harder and harder.
So you're fully healthy now?
Yes, sir.
So no load management for Legend, huh?
No, and then actually I tell him there's no injuries. I didn't coach him this summer, so with me, he knows there's no. If you could walk and you could run up and down the court, you're not injured. You gotta have a broken leg to play on my team for me to sit you down.
Mind over matter.
Yeah, mind over matter. And
has to be that way.
And then what I tell them too, I tell all my guys is, you know, I'm preparing you for the collegiate level, and you can't get injured at that level because there's someone sitting there waiting to not necessarily take your place in your position, but it's next man up at the collegiate level. And, you know, those guys are pretty good. Even the guys that, you know, that are playing behind you. So you give any one of those guys an opportunity to play on the court, you may not get your position back.
It's next man up, right, in college. And once you get higher than that and maybe reach the NBA, right?
Yep.
Really quick, so off topic kind of, but load management, because I brought it up.
Yeah.
What is your stance on that?
Well, you know, I've been around and worked for some really good coaches. So at some point you understand how to run a practice and when to pull back, when to push, when to give days off. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, I really have learned over the years working for a Dan Dockage, a Lewis Orr, a Jim O'Brien, or a Jim Boone, working for all the guys that I worked for. And that's something that you can't be taught. You can't read in the book. It's a feel. So I think I've done a good job of knowing when to push, knowing when to give a day off. And I think Legend can attest to this. Last year when I coached him for the first time, I think that was his first year without having an injury. So I won't take a little credit.
So I was about to say, I mean, to attribute that to you a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, Legend, how tough is it to play for him at times? So he says he knows when to take his foot off the gas pedal, let's say, at the right time, though. Right. Do you think that's true with Coach?
Yeah, I does, honestly. I do. You know, it's not really tough playing for Coach Stone anymore. Kind of used to it. You know, him working me as hard as he does, you know, it pays off. And, you know, it gets me used to everything that he likes.
And getting you really ready for the next level. And these guys that are tough on you 24/7.
Right.
I mean, I look at Tom Izzo and the best of the best head coaches, Coach K, Roy Williams, all these guys, Bill Self. They're all tough on their players. So if you can't deal with it, and I know I forget who it was with Izzo, and you might be able to remember this better, Coach, but who he got on.
Yeah.
And remember it became a national story.
Yeah.
But then the player said it was all right.
Yep.
And who was that player?
I forget
too, but there was a
player
big
was.
national storyline made about it.
Yep. And the player was like, "What are you guys talking about?"
I mean, that's Izzo. He's preparing me for the next level. I mean, it's good intention.
Yep.
And that's what these players, I know it's tough at times, right, when they're younger to realize. But hey, it seems like you and your team, you kind of have that mindset established with these guys,
and I
too.
think what happens with me, and I know it happens with Izzo, and who's toughest, and people don't really understand because they don't see him in practice behind closed doors. Coach K.
And I believe it, too.
They see Coach K sitting on the bench with his shirt and tie and his jacket. Looking good, but behind closed doors, I think him and Izzo and guys like Bob Huggins are some of the tougher guys that, they get after it. But what happens with those guys, their players believe in them, and their players understand that it's done out of love. It's done out of, I just trying to get the best out of you. There's nothing done out of spite. There's nothing done out of malice. And I think once that's understood, the kids will go through a brick wall for you.
So who's going further now? Michigan or Michigan State? Who do you think will end up going further in the big dance?
I want Michigan and Michigan State to play each other in the national championship game in Atlanta, Georgia this year.
That'd be awesome. And we can make that happen only. I don't know if we can. I don't think we can.
That would be awesome, and I think it would really – I think high school basketball in the state of Michigan is on the upswing. So if you could get, our two flagship programs in the Final Four at the same time, it would just add another level of excitement, and I think the kids that are coming up in the middle schools and the, in the elementary schools will see that and really want to play and basketball at the high school level and really start working even harder.
So, Legend, how about you now? You're on the hot seat here, too. Who's going further this year in the big dance? Michigan or Michigan State, you think?
As Coach Stone said, I think that really be a good game to watch.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. I enjoy that game right there.
Who's the best team, though? In all of college hoops right now, there's been so many upsets. Duke's been upset. UNC, Michigan State against Purdue got blown out. I couldn't believe it happened. But like every big-time program right now is getting upset, and no number one team is lasting as a number one team past a week or two. But who do you think? I don't know how much you watch on a regular basis, Legend, but who is that team for you, if there is one team right now? And you can think about it, too, a little bit. You're on the hot seat once again.
Oh, I don't know. This is going to be hard. This is hard right here because it has been a lot of upsets, and Purdue has been doing their thing. So I don't know, honestly.
It's a tough one. Yeah, Duke's good again. Kentucky's still there. UNC's good. UNC just lost to Clemson. Mm-hmm. But I think, and you can speak upon this too, Coach, the beauty of college hoops is the parity involved in it.
Yes.
And especially this year now.
Yes.
There's no true number one. So I know I asked you that, and it's like, it's a stupid question almost because there is no true number one right now, especially too, Coach.
And the thing that I learned about collegiate basketball, being a part of it, there's collegiate basketball is, you're in 2 semesters, and people don't realize that. You're in the fall semester, and then you finish in the winter semester. So the collegiate basketball is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you got to go into that thinking as a coach that, this is going to cover, 3-4 months. So technically you don't want to be
the best right now, right?
Team right now. You want to gradually, it's like a train starting off at, in Detroit and you got to go to Chicago. You're building up steam, and about the time you get to Ann Arbor, you're full speed ahead. And that's how, I think most successful collegiate guys operate their collegiate program.
And it's about who's getting hot at the right time.
Exactly.
Like Butler made those runs with Brad Stevens. VCU with Shaka Smart. We've seen, other schools do it as well. These schools that came from nowhere that were mid-major programs, they got hot in the right time.
Yep.
So I would say, based on what you just said, and to piggyback off of that, it's less important right now who's the best team.
Yeah, no.
It really doesn't matter.
And it's the same thing in high school basketball. We pride ourselves and we talk about, we want to be the top team in the state year after year. And, when the rankings come out, we want to be the number one team. We want to target, come after us, But technically, I don't want our team to be playing the best basketball in December and January. Come February, late February.
Before March,
right
perfect
before
timing,
March,
right then.
Yep, exactly. And I kind of set our schedule up, for that. I set our schedule up to test us early, just to see where we are, see some things that I may need to work on, and see if the offense that we're running at this time of the year is working and is something that's that fits this team. But a lot of times I don't put we may only have 50% of our offense or 50% of our defense in at this time of the year. From this point on, we'll put defensive sets and offensive sets in weekly. To get them better, and I think it brings a fresh idea, a freshness to practice. Where things aren't stale. If you're steady doing the same thing from when you start in December and all the way through January and early February, I think things can get stale and the guys can get kind of bored. So I try to keep things new and fresh.
So new concepts.
Yep.
How about scheduling Lincoln then? How did you make that happen? Early on in the season, and then to navigate that to get it played at EMU as well. How did that come to be, Coach?
Well, I think let's go back. Last season we played Lincoln and we beat Lincoln by 30.
Which I couldn't believe. I looked it up today and I was like, really, that happened?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that final score there.
I mean, we played an exceptional game that day. I think we caught Lincoln on a bad day. Because I don't think we're 30 points better than Lincoln last year. So from that standpoint, I think everyone but Lincoln was trying to get that game, get a rematch game. I don't think Lincoln was so
salivating at the mouth over it. Yeah. So many
not
words.
after getting beat by 30 in Ypsilanti. But I think what happened was when Lincoln won the state championship, and then we in Division I. And then, we were number one for the majority of the year last year, wind up losing the state championship game in Division II. I think two things happened. Lincoln winning the state championship, now all of a sudden they're sticking their chest out and say, hey, bring on River Rouge. We're not scared of River Rouge. We're the state champs. And then from the outside, everyone's saying, hey, let's get Lincoln, number one team in Division I, versus River Rouge, which was probably the number one team in Division II, just, lost the championship game. Let's get that game, the first game of the year, let's get that game to bring in high school basketball in the state of Michigan.
And you think it accomplished that too?
I think we did. I mean, it was, close to 5,000 people at Eastern Michigan. And like you said earlier, it was a who's who in the crowd. You had Izzo there, you had Howard there, you had Jalen Rose there. And, it was just a who's who. And I think that game alone and with Emoni and our program, I think it's just great for high school basketball in the state of Michigan.
Who was the coolest guy that you met that night? That night of the game against Lincoln? Jalen Rose is a big name.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to meet them. I believe they left before the game was over. I just met a lot of reporters and, seen a lot of my people from the community.
Now, one unique thing about both of you guys to end this week's episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito, what would that be for you, Legend? And think about this one, 'cause I know it might take some time to think about it too, because it can be non-sports related as well, just so you know.
I'll go first. And for me, I'm always, this time of the year is just basketball. And I'm always thinking of what can we do to better ourselves, to put ourselves in position to win a state championship. So this week for us is state championship week. And simply because we have 3 games this week, which represents the 3 games that we need to win the state championship. To win the state championship in that last week, you play a quarterfinal game on Tuesday. You play semifinal on Friday and final on Saturday. So this week for us, because we have 3 games, we call it championship week. So Tuesday, tomorrow's game against, Tuesday, last night game against UPAD was our quarterfinal game. We play E-Course on Friday, which would be considered our semifinal game. And then we play North Farmington on Saturday, which would be our championship game. And on paper, each one of those games this week should be tougher as we go on. We beat UPAD by, I think, almost 30 points last night. E-Course will be a tougher challenge. And then North Farmington on Saturday, that's going to be a tough game for us. We need to play our best to win that game. And same thing for a state championship. So that's how I'm looking at this week. I mean, I'm bad. You know, it's just basketball for me.
And it has to be, though, but you also need that balance, right, in your life. Now, I don't know. We can all say that. I don't even know if you have it or if really coaches have that, though, at the same time. So as much as maybe you or somebody else would preach it, it's like, I don't even know if you guys have that kind of balance in your life right now.
We have it after March.
Yeah, once the season ends. And once you hopefully win that state title, and you guys now are due to win it. We're on the cusp of it last year once again, so I hope you guys pull it off. And back to you, Legend. Back on the hot seat here, man. Okay, one unique thing about you, now that you've thought about it a little bit, that many people do not know.
You know, I'm a great player, great athletic, great student. One thing this week that I'm really focused on, you know, is myself, honestly, and my team. You know, myself is getting better, getting rested, because, you know, I got a little injury, so I'm recovering from that. You know, one thing for my team is I want them to work hard. You know, even if I don't play, do their best. You know, play how we play.
And Coach Stone wants you to play. I know that much as well. So hopefully you get through this injury and you do play the rest of this week. And what is one thing that you do outside of basketball, too, that can help you get away from the game, not think about basketball 24/7?
Oh, I'm just a chill person. You know, I just play the game, you know, and chill, honestly, all day, chill in my room.
A video game or something that you play too? So what video game is your favorite video game? Because everybody wants to know that.
Favorite.
Biggest question of the day.
Really just Call of Duty, for real.
COD. Okay, a lot of that. So I've played that, and I'm horrible. Do you play it online, by the way, too?
Yes.
And you're good?
Yes.
So you're good at hoops. You're good at COD. You're smart, and that's important as well. And student athlete, and I really like how Coach Stone here emphasizes that and preaches that to you guys and has for so many years to build the tradition, establish a positive culture surrounding the Rouge basketball program. And it's a winning tradition, too. I mean, you got football, who just won for the first time in school history. Yeah. That was awesome to see. Yeah. And then coming off of that, you beat Lincoln. Yeah. And you've had this great season so far, Coach.
Yeah. I think the excitement in our school district is amazing. I think our superintendent, Derek Coleman, has done an exceptional job over the last 3 or 4 years of just building, you know, not just athletically, but building a school district that's going to be around for a while. Because there were times right before he took the job and probably during his early years where everyone thought, you know, would River Rouge be the next Inkster or Highland Park, you know, a school district that, you know, closes. And, you know, instead of closing, I mean, we almost have 1,000 kids in our high school. I mean, I don't know if you know, we're Division I this year.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, River Rouge has never been Division I.
So you guys keep growing.
We keep growing, and I mean, that's a testament to our superintendent. He's done a heck of a job. And you talk about football winning the state championship. Corey's been here 10 years, and, I mean, to see him build the program to the point where he won a state championship. Actually, Corey reminds me of myself when I was younger. You know, to see him work and to see him, you know, take a program that, you know, not necessarily at the bottom, but was in bad shape. And to get it turned around and to win a state championship, you know, he's done a heck of a job. You know, I couldn't be more proud of him.
To see how low it was, right, at one point.
Yeah.
Such an impressive turnaround where he had, 2-3-win seasons.
Yeah.
He weeded out the kids, the troublemakers, he told me, because he was on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
So both of you guys now have been on the podcast, courtesy of Sundays of Dominic and Vito and the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you as usual, too, and seeing what you guys have done once again and building the successful programs, respectively.
No, I thank you, and I thank you for, you know, you given high school basketball outlet. You know, I tell Legend, you know, I want him to be a well-rounded, you know, kid, and, you know, when he leaves Rouge and plays for whatever school he goes to, and he scores 20 points and 12 rebounds, there's going to be a microphone in his face, and you give him an outlet to, you know, to get better. You know, dealing with the media, talking to the media, and you know, I thank you. I think, you know, what you do and the job you do in Metropolitan Detroit is, I mean, need to be more of you.
Well, thank you very much, Coach. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, honestly, too, for both you guys. Thank you very much, Legend, too, and best of luck the rest of the way to both you guys as well.
Thank you.